The twin suns of Zothia beat down mercilessly on the arid landscape, casting long shadows across the sand-strewn ruins that stretched to the horizon. Amidst the desolate expanse, a sleek spacecraft descended from the amber sky, kicking up clouds of dust as it touched down on the cracked earth. Zara Solaris emerged from the ship, her crystalline blue eyes scanning the barren terrain through the visor of her environmental suit. As an intergalactic explorer and relic hunter, she had visited countless worlds, but something about Zothia felt different, almost haunting in its stillness. She checked her suit's readouts. The atmosphere was thin but breathable, the temperature hovering just above the threshold for human survival. Zara adjusted her equipment and set out towards the nearest cluster of ruins, her boots leaving imprints in the ancient dust. As she approached the crumbling structures, a glint of light caught her eye. Nestled in the shadow of a toppled pillar was a small, iridescent pool, its surface shimmering like a mirage. Zara's heart quickened. Water was a precious commodity on dying worlds like Zothia, and any sign of it could lead to valuable discoveries. She knelt beside the pool, scanning its depths with her analyzer. The readings were unlike anything she had seen before. The water was infused with a dense network of organic molecules, almost alive in its complexity. Lost in thought, Zara almost didn't hear the faint rustling behind her. She spun around, hand reaching for her pulse blaster, but froze at the sight before her. Collapsed against a broken wall was a figure unlike any she had encountered. Vaguely humanoid, its body was wrapped in gossamer robes that shimmered like the pool's surface. But it was the creature's face that made Zara catch her breath. Angular and androgynous, with iridescent eyes that seemed to hold the weight of centuries. "Please," the alien rasped, its voice echoing strangely in the thin air. "Water." Zara approached cautiously, her scanner revealing the alien's vital signs were dangerously low. Its skin, visible through the tattered robes, was cracked and desiccated, as if it had been drained of all moisture. "I have water," Zara said softly, unclipping a hydration pack from her belt. "But I need to know what happened here." "Who are you?" The alien reached for the pack with trembling hands, its eyes flickering with desperate hope. "I am Thex," it whispered, "last of the Zothians. Our world, dying, lost the gift, water." As Thex brought the pack to its lips, Zara couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter was more than just chance. She had always been drawn to the mysteries of the universe, the secrets locked away in ancient ruins and forgotten worlds. But as she watched the alien drink, its skin beginning to regain a faint shimmer, she knew that this was the start of something beyond even her wildest imaginings. With each sip, Thex seemed to regain a measure of strength, its eyes losing their dullness and focusing on Zara with intense clarity. "You, not like other humans," it murmured, reaching out to touch her faceplate with a slender, iridescent finger. Zara felt a strange sensation wash over her at the contact, like a static charge that danced across her skin. She knew she should be wary, that interspecies interactions could be unpredictable, but something about Thex's gaze drew her in, whispering of ancient secrets and untold wonders. "I've been told I'm a bit different," she replied, a smile tugging at the corners of her lips. Zara Solaris, relic hunter and explorer, and apparently, now, water-bearer to mysterious aliens. Thex made a sound that might have been a laugh, or perhaps a sigh. "Zara Solaris," it repeated, as if tasting the shape of her name. "You have given me life, in more ways than you know. The water you carry, it sings with your essence. You are the key." Zara's brow furrowed. The key to what? Thex struggled to its feet, its robes shimmering in the harsh light. "To the survival of my people," it said, its voice gaining strength. "To the rebirth of Zothia. And perhaps to something more." As Zara held Thex steady itself, she couldn't ignore the thrill of excitement that raced through her veins. Here, on the brink of death, she had stumbled upon a mystery that could change the course of the galaxy, and at its center was this enigmatic being, with eyes that promised wonders beyond imagining. But even as she felt the pull of the unknown, Zara knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger. The ruins around them whispered of a civilization lost to the sands of time, and the desperation in Thex's voice hinted at a calamity that could echo across the stars. Yet as she met the alien's gaze, seeing the flicker of hope rekindled in those iridescent depths, Zara knew she couldn't turn away. She had always been drawn to the edges of the map, to the blank spaces where discovery and peril intertwined. And now, on this dying world, with an alien's fate resting in her hands, she knew she had found her greatest adventure yet. "Well then, Thex," she said, a grin spreading across her face, "let's see where this key of yours leads us. Something tells me Zothia hasn't given up all its secrets just yet." And with that, the human and the alien set out across the barren landscape, the shimmering pool at their backs, and the whispers of a world reborn on the wind. The twin suns burned overhead, but in the space between them, a new spark had been kindled, one that would light the way to a future neither could yet imagine. As Zara and Thex trekked through the barren landscape, the alien began to share the story of its people. With each step, Thex's voice grew stronger, painting a picture of a world that had once been a jewel of the galaxy. Long ago, Thex began, Zothia was a paradise. Our cities gleamed beneath the twin suns, and our gardens bloomed with 1,000 colors. At the heart of it all was the Oasis, the wellspring from which all life flowed. Zara listened intently, her recorder capturing every word. "What happened to it?" she asked, her eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of the fabled Oasis. Thex's expression grew somber. "We were a proud people, perhaps too proud. We believed our mastery over water made us invincible. But we were wrong." As they crested a ridge, Thex pointed to a vast expanse of crumbling structures in the distance. There, it said, lie the ruins of our greatest city, and at its center, the Oasis. Zara felt a thrill of excitement as they approached the ancient metropolis. The buildings were unlike anything she had seen before, their walls shimmering with iridescent patterns that seemed to shift and change in the light. But as they drew closer, the scale of the devastation became clear. The Oasis was more than just a source of water, Thex explained, its voice heavy with sorrow. It was the heart of our civilization, the key to our power. But that power came at a price. As they picked their way through the rubble, Thex revealed the secret at the core of Zothian society. Our ability to create water was not just a gift, but a symbiosis. We were bound to the Oasis, and it to us. But as our civilization grew, we became complacent. We took the Oasis for granted, and in our arrogance, we destroyed it. Zara felt a chill run down her spine. She had seen the consequences of ecological collapse on other worlds, but never on this scale. "What do you mean, destroyed it?" she asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. Thex led her to the center of the city, where a vast, empty basin stretched out before them. This was the Oasis, it said, its voice echoing in the stillness. But we drained it dry, consumed by our own greed. And when the last drop disappeared, so did our power. Zara knelt at the edge of the basin, her scanner revealing the faint traces of the organic molecules she had detected in the pool. "Your water," she murmured. "It was alive." Thex nodded. "In a way, yes. The Oasis was a living thing, and we were its caretakers. But we failed in our duty, and now," it gestured to the lifeless expanse around them. Zara stood, her mind racing with the implications. If the Zothians' power had been tied to the Oasis, then perhaps there was still a chance to restore it. She turned to Thex, a fierce determination in her eyes. "We have to find a way," she said, her voice ringing with conviction. "If there's even a chance to bring the Oasis back, to save your people, we have to try." Thex looked at her, its iridescent eyes glimmering with a mix of hope and fear. "You would do this for us?" it asked, its voice barely a whisper. "Why?" Zara reached out, her gloved hand resting on Thex's shoulder. "Because I believe in life," she said simply, "in all its forms, and because I feel connected to you in a way I can't explain." As she spoke, Zara felt a strange sensation wash over her, like a current of energy flowing between them. She gasped, her scanner flashing with a series of readings she had never seen before. Thex's eyes widened. "The compatibility," it breathed, "it's stronger than I thought." Zara looked at the alien, her heart pounding. "What compatibility?" she asked, though some part of her already knew the answer. Thex took her hand, its touch sending shivers down her spine. "Your biology," it said, "it resonates with ours. With the Oasis, you are the key, Zara Solaris, the key to our salvation." As they stood there, hand in hand amidst the ruins of a lost civilization, Zara felt the weight of destiny settling on her shoulders. She had come to Zothia, seeking relics and adventure, but now she found herself at the center of a mystery that could change the fate of an entire species. But even as the enormity of the task daunted her, Zara felt a flicker of something else, something that burned brighter than fear or doubt. It was the spark of connection, the sense that her path had led her here for a reason. And as she looked into Thex's eyes, seeing the glimmer of hope rekindled in their depths, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. For in the ruins of the Oasis, a new bond had been forged, one that would shake the destiny of two worlds and all the stars between. As the twin suns dipped towards the horizon, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson, Zara and Thex made their way through the ruins of the ancient city. With each step, the bond between them seemed to grow stronger, a palpable energy that crackled in the air like static. They worked tirelessly, scouring the crumbling structures for any clues that might lead them to the secret of restoring the Oasis. Zara's scanner hummed with activity, mapping the contours of the city's foundations and analyzing the faint traces of organic compounds that lingered in the dust. Thex, too, seemed transformed by their shared purpose. Its movements grew more fluid, more confident, as if the very act of searching had begun to restore some essential part of its being. And as they delved deeper into the ruins, it shared more of its people's history, painting a picture of a civilization that had once spanned the stars. "We were ambassadors," Thex said, its voice filled with a mix of pride and sorrow. "Emissaries of life, carrying the gift of water to worlds that had none. But we grew too proud, too certain of our own power. And in our hubris, we forgot the true nature of the Oasis." Zara listened intently, her mind whirling with the implications. If the Zothians had once been able to create water on a planetary scale, then the secrets they sought could have ramifications far beyond this single world. As the sun sank beneath the horizon, they made camp amidst the ruins of a vast atrium, its walls adorned with shimmering mosaics that seemed to come alive in the fading light. Zara set up a small solar lantern, its soft glow casting long shadows across the ancient stone. Thex sat beside her, its eyes reflecting the dancing light. "You are a curious creature, Zara Solaris," it said, its voice tinged with wonder. "You seek knowledge, not conquest. You see the value in life, even when it is different from your own." Zara smiled, feeling a warmth that had nothing to do with the lantern's glow. "I've always believed that the universe is a vast and wondrous place," she said, her gaze drifting to the stars that glittered overhead, "and that every form of life has a story to tell, a piece of the great cosmic puzzle." Thex reached out, its fingers brushing against hers in a gesture that felt strangely intimate. "And what story do you seek here on Zothia?" it asked, its voice barely a whisper. Zara felt her heart skip a beat, a shiver running down her spine at the alien's touch. "I seek connection," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "A way to bridge the gap between worlds, to find the common threads that bind us all together." As she spoke, Zara felt a sudden surge of energy flow between them, like a circuit completing. Her scanner flashed, its readings spiking off the charts. Thex gasped, its eyes widening in shock and wonder. The bond, it breathed, it's stronger than anything I've ever known. Zara stared at the alien, her mind reeling with the implications. She had heard of interspecies bonds before, rare connections that transcended biology and culture. But to experience it firsthand, with a being as alien as Thex, what does it mean? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Thex shook its head, its expression a mix of awe and trepidation. I don't know, it admitted, but I feel changed, as if a part of me that had been lost is now found. Zara nodded, feeling a similar sense of transformation within herself. It was as if the very essence of the Oasis, the life-giving force that had once sustained the Zothians, now flowed between them. And in that moment, as the stars danced overhead and the ancient city slumbered around them, Zara knew that their fates were now inextricably intertwined. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever secrets the ruins of Zothia still held, they would face them together. For in the depths of the ruined atrium, a new spark had been kindled, a spark of hope, of connection, of life itself. And as Zara looked into Thex's eyes, seeing her own wonder and determination reflected back at her, she knew that the bond they shared would be the key to unlocking the secrets of the Oasis, and perhaps to something even greater still. The dawn brought with it a renewed sense of purpose, as Zara and Thex set out to explore the farthest reaches of the ruined city. With each step, the bond between them seemed to grow stronger, guiding them onwards like a compass pointing towards true north. As they delved deeper into the labyrinthine streets, the architecture around them began to change. The crumbling facades gave way to smooth, iridescent walls that seemed to pulse with an inner light. Zara's scanner buzzed with activity, detecting vast networks of organic circuitry that ran like veins through the very foundations of the city. This is it, Thex breathed, its eyes wide with wonder. The heart of the Oasis. They stood before a vast, circular portal, its surface shimmering with the same iridescent patterns that adorned Thex's skin. Zara reached out, her fingers brushing against the cool, glassy surface. At her touch, the portal thrummed to life, splitting open like the petals of a flower to reveal a cavernous chamber beyond. As they stepped inside, Zara felt a rush of energy wash over her, like a static charge that set every nerve alight. The chamber was vast, its walls lined with pulsing conduits and glowing screens that flickered with alien script. At its center stood a towering structure, a twisting helix of crystal and metal that seemed to reach towards the very heavens. The Oasis core, Thex whispered, its voice hushed with reverence. The source of our power and the key to our legacy. Zara approached the core, her scanner whirring with activity as it analyzed the intricate machinery. The readings that scrolled across her visor were unlike anything she had ever seen, a dizzying array of biological and technological metrics that defied conventional understanding. This is incredible, she breathed, her mind racing with the implications. The level of engineering, the sheer scope of it all. Your people were not just water makers, but true masters of life itself. Thex nodded, a flicker of pride crossing its features. We were the guardians of the Oasis, it said, its voice ringing with ancient authority. Charged with maintaining the balance between technology and nature, between progress and preservation. As Zara delved deeper into the core's systems, a picture began to emerge of a civilization that had reached heights she could scarcely imagine. The Zothians had not just terraformed their own world, but had seeded countless others with the building blocks of life. They had been architects of ecosystems, sculptors of evolution itself. But as she scrolled through the ancient records, a darker truth began to emerge. The Zothians' mastery had come at a cost, a slow erosion of the very principles they had once held sacred. As their empire had grown, so too had their hubris, their belief in their own invincibility. You tried to control it, Zara murmured, her eyes widening with realization. The Oasis, the water, life itself. You thought you could bend it to your will, shape it to your desires. Thex bowed its head, a heavy sadness settling over its features. "We were fools," it said, its voice barely a whisper. "We thought ourselves gods, and in our arrogance, we brought about our own downfall." Zara placed a hand on Thex's shoulder, feeling the alien's sorrow as keenly as her own. She had seen the same story play out on 100 worlds, the same cycle of pride and destruction. But here, in the heart of the Oasis, she sensed a flicker of hope, a chance for redemption. "Your people may have lost their way," she said, her voice filled with quiet conviction. "But their legacy endures. In the ruins of this city, in the very fabric of this world. And in you, Thex." The alien looked up at her, its eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "In me?" it asked, its voice trembling with uncertainty. Zara nodded, a fierce determination burning in her heart. "You are the last of the Zothians," she said, her words ringing with the weight of prophecy. "The keeper of their knowledge, the inheritor of their dreams. And together, we will find a way to restore what was lost, to bring life back to the Oasis, and hope back to your people." As she spoke, the core began to pulse with renewed energy, the ancient machinery whirring to life, as if in response to her words. Thex gasped, its eyes widening with sudden understanding. "The core, it recognizes you," it breathed, awe and wonder suffusing its voice. "The bond between us, the compatibility of your biology. You are the catalyst, Zara Solaris, the key to unlocking the Oasis's true potential." Zara felt a thrill of excitement course through her veins, tempered by a sudden sense of trepidation. If what Thex said was true, then the fate of an entire world now rested on her shoulders. And with that realization came a chilling certainty, a knowledge that the path ahead would be fraught with peril. For in the shadows of the ruined city, an ancient enemy stirred, an enemy that had once brought the Zothians to the brink of extinction, and would stop at nothing to finish what it had started. An enemy that even now sensed the reawakening of the Oasis, and moved to snuff out its light once and for all. And as Zara stood beside Thex in the heart of the core, she knew that the true battle for the soul of Zothia had only just begun. A battle that would test the limits of their bond, and the very fabric of their beings. A battle that would decide the fate of a world, and the future of life itself. As the revelations of the Oasis core still echoed in their minds, Zara and Thex emerged from the depths of the ancient city to find the world outside changed. The once empty streets now thrummed with an undercurrent of menace, the very air crackling with a sense of impending danger. "We're not alone," Thex whispered, its eyes darting to the shadows that seemed to lengthen with each passing moment. "The enemy is here." Zara felt a chill run down her spine, her hand instinctively reaching for the pulse blaster at her hip. She had faced many dangers in her years as a relic hunter, but something about the unseen threat that now stalked the ruins of Zothia filled her with a primal sense of dread. As they made their way through the twisting streets, the feeling of being watched grew stronger, the shadows seeming to coalesce into tangible forms that flitted at the edges of their vision. And then, with a sudden sickening lurch, the enemy revealed itself. They came from all sides, a seething mass of twisted, chitinous forms that skittered across the ruined walls like a living tide. Their bodies were a nightmare fusion of organic and mechanical components, pulsing with a sickly, greenish light that seemed to leach the very warmth from the air. "Harvesters," Thex hissed, its voice thick with loathing. "The scourge that brought our civilization to its knees." Zara fired her blaster, the searing bolts of energy cutting through the onrushing horde like a scythe through wheat. But for every monster that fell, a dozen more seemed to take its place, their relentless advance driving the human and the Zothian back towards the heart of the city. As they fought, Thex shared the dark history of the Harvesters, its words painting a picture of a nightmare race that had once haunted the stars. They were the antithesis of the Zothians, a species that consumed life rather than cultivating it, that saw the universe as a resource to be plundered rather than a marvel to be cherished. They came for the Oasis, Thex panted, its own energy bolts searing the air as it fought beside Zara. They wanted our power, our technology. And in our arrogance, we underestimated them. Zara gritted her teeth, her mind racing as she sought a way out of the trap that now closed around them. She had seen the marvels of Zothian engineering firsthand, had felt the pulse of the Oasis core thrumming through her very being. And in that moment, she knew what she had to do. "The core," she shouted, her voice rising above the din of battle. "We have to get back to the core." Thex nodded, understanding dawning in its eyes. Together, they fought their way through the seething mass of harvesters, their bonds giving them a strength and unity of purpose that transcended mere flesh and blood. As they reached the entrance to the core chamber, Zara turned to Thex, her eyes blazing with a fierce determination. "I have an idea," she said, her words tumbling out in a desperate rush. "But it's risky. It could destroy everything we've worked for." Thex placed a hand on her shoulder, its touch a calming anchor amidst the chaos. "I trust you, Zara Solaris," it said, its voice ringing with a quiet conviction. "Whatever you need to do, I am with you." Zara nodded, her heart swelling with a sudden fierce surge of emotion. Together, they plunged into the core chamber, the harvesters hot on their heels. At the heart of the ancient machinery, Zara worked with a desperate fury, her hands flying over the alien controls as she sought to unlock the true potential of the Oasis. She could feel the core responding to her touch, the bond between her and Thex thrumming with an almost tangible energy. But even as the ancient technology began to awaken, the harvesters closed in, their chittering forms swarming over the walls and ceilings of the chamber. And in that moment, Thex made a decision that would change the course of history. With a final, wordless cry, the Zothian threw itself into the midst of the harvester horde, its body glowing with a brilliant, searing light. The monsters recoiled, their chitinous forms crumbling to ash as the energy of the Oasis core surged through Thex's being. Zara watched in horror as her friend, her bondmate, sacrificed themselves for the chance to save their world. And in that moment, she knew that the price of survival would be higher than she had ever imagined. With a final, desperate surge of energy, she activated the core, the ancient machinery thrumming to life with a force that shook the very foundations of the city. A blinding light filled the chamber, a searing radiance that swept outwards like a wave, consuming the harvesters in a fiery conflagration. And as the light faded, Zara found herself alone, the chamber empty save for the softly pulsing core and the ashes of the fallen. Thex was gone, their sacrifice a final, searing testament to the power of the bond they had shared. But even as grief threatened to overwhelm her, Zara knew that the fight was not over. The harvesters had been defeated, but the true battle for the soul of Zothia had only just begun. And with the weight of an entire world now resting on her shoulders, she knew that she would have to be stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. For in the ashes of the ruined city, a new hope had been born, a hope that the legacy of the Zothians, the dream of the Oasis, might one day be restored. And though the price had been high, Zara knew that it was a price she would gladly pay again, for the chance to bring life and light back to the stars. In the aftermath of the battle, Zara found herself wandering the ruins of the city, her heart heavy with the weight of loss and the burden of responsibility. The core thrummed softly in the distance, a constant reminder of the power she now wielded and the price that had been paid to secure it. As she picked her way through the rubble, her mind turned to Thex, to the bond they had shared, and the sacrifice that had sealed their fate. In the short time they had known each other, the Zothian had become more than just a guide or a friend. They had been a part of her, a missing piece that she hadn't even known she was lacking. And now, with Thex gone, Zara felt a hollow ache in her chest, a void that threatened to consume her from within. But even as grief threatened to overwhelm her, she knew that she could not let their sacrifice be in vain. With a heavy heart, she made her way back to the core chamber, the ancient machinery humming with renewed life as she approached. The readings on her scanner were off the charts, the energy levels spiking in ways that defied explanation. As she delved deeper into the core's systems, a sudden realization struck her like a thunderbolt. The key to restoring the Oasis, to bringing life back to Zothia, lay not in the technology of the Zothians, but in the very bonds that had defined their civilization. The core was more than just a machine. It was a living, breathing entity, a repository of the hopes, dreams, and memories of an entire species. And at its heart, woven into the very fabric of its being, was the essence of the bond between Zara and Thex. With trembling hands, she accessed the core's deepest databases, searching for any hint of how to proceed. And there, buried amidst the vast troves of data, she found it, a message from Thex, recorded in the final moments before the battle. "Zara," the hologram whispered, its image flickering with static. "If you're seeing this, then I am gone, and the fate of our world rests in your hands." Zara felt tears welling in her eyes as she listened, her heart aching with the weight of Thex's words. The bond we shared, the connection between us, it was more than just a quirk of biology or a trick of fate. It was a reflection of the true nature of the Oasis, of the power that sustains all life. The hologram paused, its eyes seeming to pierce the veil of time and space, to gaze directly into Zora's soul. "The Oasis is not just a source of water, Zara. It is the embodiment of the bonds that connect us all, the ties of love, of friendship, of sacrifice. And it is only through those bonds that it can be restored." Zara felt a sudden, searing clarity wash over her, a understanding that went beyond mere words or thoughts. The Oasis was not just a resource to be exploited or a power to be harnessed. It was a living testament to the interconnectedness of all things, a reflection of the fundamental truth that bound the universe together. And in that moment, she knew what she had to do. With a final, lingering glance at Thex's hologram, Zara turned to face the core, her eyes blazing with a fierce determination. She had come to Zothia seeking fortune and glory, but she had found something far greater, a purpose, a calling, a destiny. As the light of the core faded, Zara emerged from the chamber to find the world outside transformed. Where once there had been only barren rock and lifeless sand, now a verdant oasis stretched out before her, the ancient waterways of the Zothians flowing once more with crystal-clear water. She stepped out into the sunlight, feeling the warm breeze on her skin and the soft grass beneath her feet. The air was filled with the sound of birdsong and the gentle rustling of leaves, a symphony of life that had been absent from this world for far too long. As she walked, Zara marveled at the changes that had taken place. The ruins of the city were no longer empty shells, but living, breathing spaces filled with the vibrant energy of a civilization reborn. The walls pulsed with a soft, inviting glow, the ancient technology of the Zothians harmonizing seamlessly with the natural world around it. And everywhere she looked, she saw the signs of the bond that had made it all possible. The patterns etched into the walls, the flow of the water through the channels, the very shape of the buildings themselves. All were reflections of the intricate web of connections that bound the Oasis together. As she made her way through the city, Zara found herself drawn to the central plaza, where a great tree had sprouted from the heart of the Oasis itself. Its branches reached high into the sky, its leaves shimmering with a soft, iridescent light. And there, at the base of the tree, she found them, the Zothians, emerging from their long slumber to gaze and wonder at the world that had been reborn around them. They were tall and slender, their skin shimmering with the same iridescent patterns that adorned the walls of the city. As they approached Zora, their eyes wide with gratitude and awe, she felt a surge of emotion well up within her. For so long, she had been driven by the thrill of the hunt, the desire to uncover the secrets of the past. But now, standing here among the Zothians, she realized that the true treasure had been with her all along. It was the bond she had shared with Thex, the connection that had transcended time and space to bring life back to a dying world. And it was the knowledge that, even in the darkest of times, even when all hope seemed lost, The power of those bonds could never be broken. As the Zothians gathered around her, their voices rising in a song of joy and celebration, Zara felt a sense of purpose settle over her like a mantle. She had been chosen, not just by fate or chance, but by the very fabric of the universe itself, to be a guardian of the Oasis, a keeper of the flame that would light the way for generations to come. And as she looked out over the reborn city, she knew that her journey was far from over. There were countless worlds out there, countless civilizations waiting to be discovered and explored. And with the power of the Oasis at her fingertips and the bonds of friendship and love to guide her, she knew that there was nothing she could not achieve. So it was that Zara Solaris, once a simple relic hunter, stepped forward into her new role as ambassador of the Oasis, ready to carry the message of hope and unity to the stars. And though the path ahead was uncertain, though the challenges she would face were many and varied, she knew that she would never be alone. For the bond that had been forged on Zothia, the connection that had brought life to a barren world and hope to a lost civilization, would endure forever. And in the heart of the Oasis, in the very essence of the universe itself, that bond would always be a beacon, a guiding light for all those who sought to walk the path of understanding and peace. As the twin sons of Zothia sat behind the great tree of the Oasis, Zara raised her hand in farewell to the gathered Zothians. Their journey together had only just begun, but she knew that the legacy of Thex and of all those who had come before would live on through them. And with a final, grateful smile, she turned her face to the stars, ready to embrace the endless wonders that awaited her. For she was Zara Solaris, guardian of the Oasis, and her story was only just beginning.